Hi, Davey again. So today we're going to be talking about this idea of composition technique in functional programming. So for the last few days we've been covering functional programming concept, and in functional programming you got to think of things like programming as you get a stream of data and you apply a set of transformation function, and then as that stream is being transformed, you go from one data point to another data point just by passing just a pipeline of function that goes through it. So composition is basically a technique that allows to take this concept onto another level. So during this week, we're going to talk about things like compose, currying, auto currying, partial function, and so many other techniques that can be used for that. So today we're talking about the composition technique. So let's go into the code a little bit here. So how would you define the function compose basically? So we're just gonna create a compose function here, and the compose function itself takes two arguments, f and g for example. And the important point that you gotta keep in mind is that when you pass two functions, right, like you see the definition up here, when you pass two functions, these two functions they're going to return the third one, right? So let's say here the third one is going to be a function that takes an argument, and now what you do is the first one will take as an argument the second one that itself takes that argument that is being passed. So if you go right here, you can basically say this one is a function, this one is also a function. So we'll make sure that we type it right here. Let's go back over here, function, right? And this entire thing there is going to return a function, right? So that's what we have. And then that argument right here, we really don't know what it is. So let's just say that we don't, but at least that's what we get as an output. Now, how would you use that, right? Let's take a simple example here. We're going to have a function trim. What does that do? It's basically it takes an argument and then it's just gonna call trim, the JavaScript trim on it. So this one here is x is a string, right? And we're going to do the same thing with something called uppercase, all right? And then we take this, and then instead of that, we're just gonna set two uppercase over here. So we have two functions. We have our compose function right there. So now if we go and use our compose function and we pass trim and uppercase, so what we get in return, what we get here in the result, you're just gonna see that the result is a function that you get in return, okay? And what we want to do with it is basically make sure that we can then call it and pass it the argument that we want here. So let's say, for example, Hackages learning platform. Okay, so let me put some space right there, a little bit more space. And if we look at what is being rendered right here, we see that this is probably not that visible, so let's show it over here. Okay, so that you see indeed that here we have we're able to basically call trim. So it's not obvious with what we have here that the space right there has been removed, but another way to basically verify that is you go here, you cut this, you create basically a constant here, let's say Hackages learning platform, and you cut it this, right? And now you're gonna put it over here. The interesting thing, the way you can see it is just by calling the length here, right? And now we can see that it's 30, right? Let me make sure that it's quite visible right there. So it basically said 30s, and what do we have with the length of this one? Right here, and then we look at it like this. You see indeed that we went from 30 to 26, and then it everything got uppercase right there. So that's composition. Now, in this video here, my point here is to show you that composition are really amazing, but there is one level we can go, one level in terms of the number of function you can pass, right? Because now we only have 2. How about that pipeline that I talk about, where you can pass an infinite a number of function, right? So that is basically what I'm going to cover in the next video, and we're going to make sure that we don't use things like a function like this and type it properly. Okay, so I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, people.